Hey guys, so I am so excited because this is going to be the first video of my whole Biggest Loser series. If you don't know, I was on season 11 of The Biggest Loser back in 2010 and 2011, so it's kind of been a while. All of the questions that I'm answering today are directly from you guys. I had asked in a previous video for you guys to leave me some comments of questions you had about The Biggest Loser Ranch and my experience and just everything in general when it comes to Biggest Loser. And so I just compiled all of your questions and I'm going to start kind of a little bit of a series here of all of your questions because there were over 100 questions and I don't think I can answer all of them in one video because it'd probably be like 4 or 5 hours and nobody has time for that. Let's just be honest. I'm already windy as it is. So yeah, I am going to answer some random questions in this video and then do that for the next couple videos in the next few weeks. I was going to split up the videos into like a food video, an exercise video, a mental video, but honestly, I feel like all of it goes together, especially the mental aspect of everything. I mean, whenever you're going through a health journey and like a life change, the mental aspect is everything, you know? So that kind of goes into everything and all of these answers. I just thought it'd be cool to just keep it random and all of these questions will be at random in every video, but I don't know, I'm excited to answer them. There's some really great questions that honestly I probably wouldn't have even thought of myself to answer for you guys, so I'm excited to answer them. And if you do have any follow-up questions as you're listening to this, just leave a comment down below and I'll add it to the list for the next video. Also, I have to preface this video by telling you guys that everything I say in any of these videos about my experience or about anything having to do with my time on the ranch, this is my opinion and my experience. And there might be somebody from my season that has a different view or a different belief of their time on the ranch, and that is totally fine. I completely respect their opinion and their view, and this goes for people on my season and any season before or after me. I respect all of the alumni, and I know that we all do have different experiences with our time on the ranch and with certain trainers and whatever. You know, some of us are closer with certain trainers than others, and it's like that's okay, you know what I mean? I know that there's some people that have differing views on all of it. So I just want you guys to know I respect their opinion as well, but this is my opinion, so I cannot speak for anybody else, and I won't speak for anybody else. So even if I say we or something and I misspeak, I'm talking about me. And if I'm talking about my mom, because we have a lot of conversations about this, I will say, and my mom, and just preface it by that, because my mom and I have pretty much the same view on everything. There are a couple little things that we differ on, but for the most part, we do have the same views. So maybe I'll bring her in a video one day, we'll see. So I guess let's just jump right in. Okay, the first question is hands down the #1 question that I get whenever I'm talking about Biggest Loser, and that is Jillian mean? And the answer is absolutely not. She has one of the kindest hearts I've ever met. You know, her training style is very hardcore and you see her yelling and in your face, and she is like that while you're training. But even while you're training, she'll make sure that you're okay. She's like, "Are you okay, sweetie?" You know, because there was a lot of struggling on the ranch. Most of it was mental, but there was a lot of struggling, and she'd always make sure you were okay, and if you weren't, she'd talk to you. If you were, she said, "Okay, then keep going," you know? That's just how it is. But I think that there was only one side of Jillian that was ever shown on Biggest Loser, along with her talks, you know, her like mental talks with everybody. But honestly, if you watch her new show, Just Jillian, I've only watched 2 episodes of it, but just in those 2 episodes, I saw the Jillian that I know so much more in that show. So I think it's on E, and I think it's probably, you know, 6 or 7 episodes in already, but I'm sure you can get it on demand or something. That is the Jillian I know. You see all areas of her. She's just a wonderful person, truly. Her little family is just awesome. I love her dogs. I know that if I reach out to her, she will be there for me. That's just how it is. Anytime I've ever texted her, emailed her, called her, anything, she has reached back out and she's always gotten back to me. That's just how she is. There were a couple situations a couple years ago after the show where she really stood up for me and a lot of other contestants, and I don't know, I'll just always appreciate her and love her for the person that she is, and I think that if you know her and you meet her, you will see that same side of her. So you know, you've seen what you've seen on Biggest Loser, but that's not necessarily just who Jillian is. So if you have a chance to get to know her or go to one of her meet and greets or one of her speaking engagements, definitely do it, and you know, give her a big hug, and I guarantee you she's gonna embrace you right back. Okay, next question. Do you still stay in touch with any of the trainers or contestants from your season? So I already kind of touched upon Jillian. Of course, like if I ever reach out, or if my mom reaches out, she always gets back to us. She was so sweet about my wedding. She's like, just send me an email invite, save the tree, don't send a paper invite. Like, she was just so sweet. So yeah, you know, we stay in touch with Jillian a little bit here and there. Brett Hobel, who was a trainer on my season, seriously, I love him so much. Like, within seconds, if I reach out to him, he always answers back. He was at my wedding a couple of months ago. Everybody kind of flocked to him because that's just his personality. Like, he's just so loving, he embraces you, he wants to love on everybody. And not only that, he's probably one of the best trainers I've ever encountered in my entire life. He is so much about the science part of everything, which I totally appreciate. Like, that's the way that that's what I love, is like just like the science behind health and weight and everything like that, because it's so much more than just weight on the number on the scale, you know? And Brett gets that, and I just love him. Brett, if you're watching this, I love you, dude. I really hope to see you soon. Like, I don't know, I love you so much, and I'll always appreciate you. Another person that we stay in contact with so much from the show is Sandy Crum, who was our athletic trainer on the show. And unfortunately, he wasn't on TV a lot. Like, they just didn't show him very much. But I have to tell you guys, behind the scenes, he was our go-to person. Like, he was everything to us. Not only did he help us with our aches and pains and that kind of stuff, he was our psychiatrist. I mean, not technically, but every day, like, if we needed something, he was there for us. And that's just how it was. And I don't know, I just don't know what the show is doing now without Sandy, because Sandy doesn't work for the show anymore. He actually lives in Chicago, so we get to see him often. He's only about an hour from us. He was at my wedding with his mom, Judy, who is honestly the best. His best friend, Todd. Todd's 3 little girls were my flower girls. It's just a really cool thing. Like, it's just a really cool family. And honestly, Sandy is one of the greatest people I've ever known in my whole life. And I mean that hands down. And I think that anybody that knows him, any of us alumni, anybody that's been in contact with him can say the same thing. He's just a genuinely caring person. He wants the best for everybody. He doesn't judge, he just wants to help. And that is what I love about Sandy, and I love that I'm able to reach out to him at any time. I love that he comes and visits us in our everyday environment, and I just love that I can call him a friend and family member forever. And then as far as contestants go from my season, of course, I stay in touch with so many people from our season. I mean, Irene, she was in my wedding. She was on the orange team with her mom. Hannah, Olivia, Jen, they all sang in my wedding. We all kind of have group text messages going sometimes. Jay, I love Jay. Arthur, everybody. Like, there's so many people from our season that I just genuinely care about, and I love them so much. Like, I'm just so grateful to have these people in my life forever, regardless if we talk every day or not. Like, we are a family, and I know that we would always have each other's backs if we needed to in any moment. So season 11 for life, Team Aqua for life. I love you guys so much if you're watching. And then I thought I should also touch upon the fact that I do talk to a lot of people outside of my season. You know, we are like a Biggest Loser family. We really are. We have, you know, a group online on Facebook, and we all talk to each other that way. But honestly, 2 of my very, very best friends in life, like literally my best friends in life, we have a group text message going called The Squad, and it's me, Alex, and then Francie and Jeff. They're 2 of our very best friends. Even though we're far away, you know, we talk to them daily, literally daily, and I just love them so much. And there's so many people from so many other seasons. I mean, Mark from season 10, he's like my brother. Like, he literally is my brother. I am myself around him in every area. He was also in our wedding. There's just so many people that I just love from the show, and you know, I don't even look at them as people from the show. Like, I just look at them as my friends, you know? So it's kind of weird to even think of it like that, because Jeff and Francie, like, we don't talk about the show. We talk about our life and love and like our dreams and our hopes and traveling and that kind of stuff. So it's just really cool to be a part of all of that, and it all does stem from Biggest Loser, but it's not like our life, if that makes sense. So to answer your question, yes, I talked to tons of people from Biggest Loser and I couldn't be happier about it. Okay, next question. How long did you work out each day? Okay, so that is a question that I get all of the time, and the answer to that is that it was different each day, but usually it was between 6 and 8 hours a day. And then towards the end, it was more and more because you had to work out more because, you know, it was just harder to lose weight. So I will say that those 6 to 8 hours, I would say probably 70% of it was walking. We were always walking. It was the best thing that we did on the ranch was walk, walk, walk. And that was either around the Presidential Mile that was around the ranch, or if it was hiking up to Inspiration Point, or if it was just pacing around the house, which I did a lot of. I'm just gonna let you guys know it was called the Courtney Pace, and we all started pacing a lot. But a lot of it was walking. And then, you know, 2 to 3 hours a day would be the intense workouts, and that would be mostly cardio. I'm not gonna lie, we did mostly cardio workouts. We didn't lift a lot of weights at the ranch, which is one thing that I really wish that I would have changed. But yeah, we did a lot of cardio, tons of cardio, and lots of calorie burning, but it was so good to be able to walk that much and just like clear your mind of everything every day. And yeah, it was a really good time, and you were sore at the end of the day, especially in the beginning. I will say this, I would never recommend 6 to 8 hours a day for anybody in your everyday life. Honestly, if you have time to work out 6 to 8 hours a day, props to you. I have no time to do that in my life. There's no way that that is a realistic thing that could be sustained in my life ever, probably ever again in my whole life. So please don't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they worked out that much, I need to do that. No, like honestly, no. Sometimes it's hard to even get an hour in. Trust me, I totally get that. You guys have to know that when we were on the ranch, all we did was work out, sleep, and eat. That's it. We had no other outside distractions. We weren't allowed to talk to people. We had no social media. We had no phones. It was nothing like that. So you guys have to know that it's not realistic to work out 6 to 8 hours a day. So please don't think that you have to. I'm just answering your question so you guys can know what we did there, but it is not doable for everyday life. So don't feel like you need to do that. The next question, how many steps did you take each day? This is a question that I get a lot as well, and a lot more so now because I have like a Fitbit and people keep asking questions about it. But we would take tons of steps when we were at the ranch. I would say it varied between 15,000 steps to 40,000 steps a day. It really just depended on the day, if we had a challenge that day, if it was a dark day, that kind of stuff. It really just depended on that. I would say the average was about 30,000 steps a day, which is a ton of steps. I mean, like I said, we were walking all day long. We were pacing, we were walking, whatever we were doing, we were always moving unless we were taking a nap. So, you know, 30,000 steps is a ton. I would never say that you need to do that in your everyday life, but that is what we took at the ranch. Next question, are you allowed on the internet like Facebook or other social media? What did you do with your phones? Okay, so I kind of touched upon this, but no, we were not allowed to have any phones, computers, any type of social media, no TV, no internet, no newspapers, nothing that was anything with current events, nothing like that. We had to turn our phones in the very first day before we went to the ranch. We had to put them in these little baggies, turn in our computers, and then they put it into the production office in a locked safe. So all of our stuff was in there, it was all labeled, and then when we got eliminated, we got it back. But we were not allowed to have anything. It was honestly like a culture shock. It was kind of crazy, but after a few days, you were like, wow, this is really nice to not have this stuff. We were allowed to write letters, and we were allowed to have letters written to us, but our letters, we couldn't tell our family anything. We couldn't tell them about weight, we couldn't tell them about people on the show, nothing like that. All we could do was tell them we miss them, we love them. We could tell them about dark days, like if we were we could say, oh, well, we worked out this long this day, but we weren't allowed to talk about details at all. And every single letter that we wrote, all the production assistants had to read through it, so if there was something that wasn't right in there, they'd either cross it out or they would make us rewrite it. So that was kind of crazy. And then the letters that came in, we were allowed to hear some things. We weren't allowed to have like current events and all of that, but they were allowed to tell us things about our families and whatnot. But we didn't get those letters unless we won a challenge. So I don't think we got any letters until about 4 weeks in. And then we had tons of letters because they were allowed to write as many letters as they wanted to us, but we couldn't get them until all at once. So I think I got so many letters that 4th week when we won the challenge. It was crazy. And then I spent that whole night just reading all of the letters and crying and just missing the people that I loved. And I wasn't able to tell them right then, like, I love you too, you know? So it was kind of crazy, but in the end, it was a really good thing because it forced you to focus on yourself. There was nothing else that you could do except focus on yourself. And that is when you're able to make a life change, when you put yourself first and you just believe in yourself. And even if other people are believing in you, you have to believe in you. And it forced you to do that. Okay, the next question. Did you ever get to go off the ranch? And if so, could you leave alone? Okay, we were able to go off the ranch, and that was really only on challenge days, which would be like if we were filming a whole day, we would go have a challenge somewhere. We could go off the ranch that way. We went in these like big, ugly white vans and we'd go to the location. We never knew where we were going. They just took us there and they would never tell us where it was. We weren't allowed to see things before they were filming us. It was kind of crazy, but we did go off the ranch then. And then we had dark days, which was probably about 2 to 3 days a week where we had no filming that day. And we were able to wear just street clothes. We didn't have to wear our Biggest Loser shirts and all of that. We were allowed to have our music those days. We weren't allowed to have music while we were filming because, you know, just like copyright stuff and all of that. But we were allowed to have our music on dark days, and some of those dark days, the trainers, depending on who your trainer was, I had Bob and Jillian in the beginning, we were allowed to go off the ranch with them to gyms or to Runyon Canyon or whatever. We went to their homes a couple of times. I went to both of Jillian's homes. We went to Bob's home. We went to Crunch Gym. We did tons of different things off the ranch. And I do believe that season 11 was different in that way too. At least that's what the production assistants told us. We did get to go off the ranch quite a bit with our trainers because they just wanted us to be with them. You know, some of the other seasons didn't get to do that as often and they stayed on the ranch and did their workouts there. But we did get to leave quite a bit, and most of it was to be very active and to work out. We also went to the movies a couple of times, I think actually only one time, and we had to be like secluded in the back. We weren't allowed to see people, talk to people, interact with anybody except each other, so that was kind of weird. But that was more towards like the end of the season, or at least towards the end of when I was there. We didn't get to really go in the beginning when it was a huge group. So yeah, but we did get to do a couple things like that. We never were able to leave by ourselves. I mean, the whole outside of the ranch is all secured and you couldn't leave. But yeah, we did get to leave sometimes with our trainers and with the production assistants, and it was always fun. It was always a little bit of an adventure, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed my time when we were able to get off the ranch. The next question, were the trainers always there, or did you have other trainers when the cameras weren't rolling? This is a great question. The trainers were not always there. We did have the Jillian and Bob and Brett and Kara there a lot during our season because they wanted to be there. They liked to be with us. It was a really good time, and they were there a lot, but you can't expect them to be there 7 days a week. So we had them there for a lot of the days, but most of the time on the dark days, if we weren't traveling with our trainers to a different gym or something, they hired other trainers to come in and train us and, you know, do a couple-hour workout with us. Somebody that stands out to me is Cardio Chris. His name's Christopher Lane. He was just an incredible trainer, and he always had us doing the cardio. I basically learned to really run from him. We did these rundowns, and it was just awesome. Like, I just loved him. I remember a day, it was actually Thanksgiving morning, and he came to train us that morning, and we knew that we were gonna have our high calorie day that day, and we were gonna eat whatever we wanted later in the day, but we all wanted to get our workouts in. But him and I ran side by side on the treadmills doing our 5K, and it was my best 5K time ever. And I was actually the #1 person with the 5K that day, and I just felt so good. And he really just empowered me to do my best, you know? He's like, Courtney, like, this is unbelievable. I'm just so proud of you. And he just really motivated me to keep going. And I'll never forget that. Like, I just love that guy. He's from Indiana, but he lives in California now. But I don't know, I just love him. He's somebody that's always in my heart. And, you know, the people that you see on the show, Bob, Jillian, Brett, Kara, you know, Dr. H, all these people are awesome, but there's a lot of really awesome people behind the scenes too. And I mean, I appreciate so many of them. There's also people that aren't so great behind the scenes, I'll just be honest with you, but there are some really, really awesome people, and I'll be grateful for them and then just kind of forget about the other people. Okay, next question. What was the day-to-day schedule like at the ranch? Were you able to read books, nap, or anything else? Honestly, this was different each day. Every single day we would get a call sheet and it would tell us what we had to do every single day. About 4 to 5 days a week would be a filming day, and on filming days we had to work for 12 hours. So that would include all of our workouts on camera, our talks with our trainers, all of our interviews on camera that kind of, you know, busted into our workout time, which was always a little bit annoying. Like, if we were in the middle of a workout, we could be in the middle of a workout with a trainer or by ourselves or whatever we were doing, and if we got called to do an interview, you just had to stop what you were doing and go do the interview for an hour or two, sometimes 3-hour interviews. And they would ask you questions about everything that had happened up until that point and those kind of things. So that would be kind of weird, but you know, that was part of the process. Like, you just knew that that was what you had to do. So on the filming days, it was kind of just like a work day. You just kind of answered to the producers and you did whatever you had to do, and you got your workouts in between everything you needed to do those days. And then on dark days, those were my favorite days because we were able to have a little bit more lenience. We were able to have our iPods with our music on them that we brought from the beginning. So my music got really old really quickly, but you know, we were able to go off the ranch with, you know, some of the trainers or whatever it was. But dark days were really cool, and I really liked those days. You could nap whenever you wanted, especially on a dark day. If they said, you know, if there was not a set schedule, we could do whatever we wanted those days. So if you wanted to work out for 5 hours straight and nap and then work out a little bit more, you could. You know, it was really all up to you. Like, we didn't have somebody telling us exactly what we had to do at every minute, especially on those dark days. So yeah, every day was kind of different, but then when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, it was just like, for me, I was just in a routine. I'd get up, I'd walk every morning for at least an hour, if not 2 hours. I'd eat breakfast, I'd either go shower or go take a nap, I'd work out again. It was crazy. It was honestly crazy. I'd make my meals in between all of that, I'd eat snacks in between all of that, and then do it all again the next day, you know? But it was good to be kind of in a routine. It kind of kept me motivated, and I knew what I had to do, and I just did it. Okay, the next question. How much of the show was real and how much was fake? This is pretty easy for me to answer because honestly, I feel like with our season especially, we were all just extremely real. Like, we didn't allow them to let us be fake. Like, even if a story producer would be like, hey, do you think this, or do you want to say this? And if we didn't believe it, if I didn't believe it, I would say, no, I'm not saying that because I don't think that. But sometimes they would, you know, they would be like, do you believe this? And I'd be like, oh, well, yeah, that is actually how I wanted to say it, but I couldn't say it right. So, you know, there were certain things like that, but honestly, I don't even think that you could go into this process being super fake and then it would work. Like, it just wouldn't work if you were fake about it. So I don't know. I just feel like there might have been some fake people on other seasons. I don't know. But I know for me and my mom, I can speak for my mom on this, we were always straight up front and real. But yeah, we really enjoyed ourselves on the show. And I will say this, like, we do so many interviews every single day. Like, when you're there, you are constantly doing interviews, whether it's like an on-the-fly interview or if it's a sit-down interview, whatever it is, you're almost always doing interviews. And there were times, I feel like if you watched my season, you would always see me being so positive and happy and whatever, and I was, you know, I am a positive person. I love that about myself, but I also have another side of me where I'm like, I'm not gonna take crap either, you know? And there were a lot of times where I'd be on camera like, I don't agree with this, and I don't believe that that's true, or I don't like this, or I don't, you know, whatever it was, I wasn't always super positive Patty, you know? I mean, I was for the most part, and that is what everybody got to see, but there were other times where I was very emotional and raw, and I kind of let it out there, and that wasn't always on the show, but I will say I had to do that for myself. I had to just let my emotions out because it was something that I didn't do for a long time in my life. I kind of held everything in. So it was good to be able to just get those things out sometimes, whether it was on camera or not. Okay, next question. Did you know your weight beforehand during the weigh-in? Did the producers? How long did a weigh-in take? Okay, so that's a lot of questions in one, but let me just start by saying that the weigh-ins, it really just depended on the week, but I remember the first weigh-in that we ever had when it was all of us at the ranch. It was about 5 hours long, and it was so hot in there. Everybody was dripping in sweat. It was unbelievable. Like, it was crazy that it took that long and that it was that hot in there. There was no air conditioning in the gym at that time. I think there is now, but there wasn't then. So that was crazy. As people dwindled down, the weigh-ins went a lot quicker, so that was really good, but they did take a long time. As for the actual weigh-ins themselves, we never knew our weights beforehand, but the producers did. So kind of how it would go on a weigh-in day, what we did was early in the morning of the weigh-in day when we were filming later that night, early that morning, we would weigh in with the producers in Sandy's office. So they could see the scale, we'd step on the scale, they could see the number, they would record it, and then we would just be on our way. That day ended up being our high calorie day, which I'll talk about in a second, but they would record all of the weights, and then that way they could see the order of how we were all gonna weigh in. So when you guys watch it, it would be more dramatic, you know, it would be in the order that would be the most dramatic, and usually the last person weighing in was either gonna have an amazing number or they were going home, you know? So we kind of learned that along the way, but all of our reactions were real because we never knew what we weighed at that point, you know? So that was always kind of a weird thing, but it was really cool that they were able to do that, I guess, and have like the suspense or whatever. But yeah, we never knew beforehand. All of our reactions and everything that we did was totally real when it came to the weigh-ins, for sure. And like I said, on weigh-in days, after we'd have that initial weigh-in in the morning, that was our weight. That was our recorded weight for the week. So what we got to do on those days, that was our high calorie day. And we basically could eat anything we wanted those days. And I will say some people went really crazy. I went crazy a few times, I'm not gonna lie. They would bring us things into the house that we wanted for those days. If we had cravings for things, we could have them. You know, even just saying this right now, it just is like, why did we do that? Like, it's just not, to me, it's like kind of an eating problem when you do something like that. It's like restricting and then binging and whatever. And I don't agree with it. I don't really like to do that anymore. But we were able to have that high calorie day because we weren't eating so much, so many calories throughout the week. And I'll talk about that later in another video, all about the calories. That might be a whole video in itself, I don't know. But yeah, so that was our high calorie day and we basically could have anything we wanted. I know that other seasons brought in pizzas like Domino's and stuff like that. We didn't really do that. We would make like homemade pizzas at the ranch. We would do, you know, chicken sausages that had a lot more salt in them, you know, so we didn't really get to have all that throughout the week. So we did stuff like that on the weekends, and I would always make this like grilled cheese on this multi-grain bun with, you know, this really good, like we had organic cheese, and then I put guacamole on it, and it was so good. It was like something I look forward to every single week. I just loved that. But we definitely loved our high calorie days, don't get me wrong, we loved it. But we'd go into the filmed weigh-in like bloated because we had eaten so much throughout the day. So that was kind of crazy, but it worked for us then. I wouldn't say it's what you should do now unless that's what works for you. Just for me mentally, it's just like so much restricting and binging, and I can't do that for myself today. Oh, and also not only was the weigh-in day our high calorie day, it was also our rest day. So we did work out really, really hard 6 days a week, and then we'd have one day that was our rest day. So usually that was the high calorie day, the weigh-in day, and the rest day all in one day. So that was really good, and I recommend a rest day for anybody that is doing some really intense working out, because you have to let your body recover. If you don't do that, all it's gonna do is shut everything down, and that's the last thing that you want. Okay, so I'm going to end this video here. I will be filming the other video, including more of the food questions and those kind of things, along with many more mental questions and just random questions in the next few days. But hopefully this answered a couple of your Biggest Loser questions. If there's anything else that came up as you were listening to this, just ask a question down below. If you have any follow-up questions, ask it down below. Anything you guys want to know, I'll just keep adding it to the list for the other videos. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed talking about it. I think it's really fun. But yeah, I'm excited to touch more on a lot more mental stuff in the next video. I feel like I kept kind of skipping over that because I really want to be able to go in depth with those, whether that is a whole video for one question or whatever it is. But hopefully these questions were fun for you, and I will talk to you guys soon. Love you all.